Okay, I think we're good. It was kind of, you're tall. There we go. Yeah, we're good. All right. Okay.
With the phone propped between two coffee cups.
Yeah. Yeah, we should document that.
It's really the most difficult thing that's happening today. Is getting the phone propped.
Okay. Let's just jump in, yeah?
Great.
Okay. So when I was reading about the concept around this project, it reminded me a bit about of the concept of fictional music, what you did at the library. Like the idea that like each floor could stand on its own, what the musicians were playing on each floor. But depending on where you were in the library, that shifted what you heard. Or all the pieces kind of coming together was different depending on where you were at. And so my question, I guess, is like, is that project and this one connected at all, or super separate and just happen to have some sort of thread through it?
It's the first time I even thought about it, actually. So I never really never considered that. But yeah, you're right. They share that similarity. I guess it's something I'm into, like the idea of like a multiplicity of perspectives, or like how perspective really informs our worldview, obviously, or the way we hear things. And I like the idea that like different worlds can coexist as well, and like, you know, I can feel like I have the reality is this way, but really it's like, as if you shift even like a tiny bit, it's completely different. And it's happening all around us all the time. Like, you know, even with thinking about acoustics or whatever, if you move to a different part of the room, if you're really listening for it, you would hear different resonances and different like kind of like echoes off the walls or whatever. And like the fan that just turned on there, like if you're really tuned into that stuff, I guess it's always there. But yeah, so I guess to answer 100%. The question, it wasn't like intentional.
Not an intentional connection. No. Yeah, literally I was just like, I wonder if this is building off of that. Yeah. Because it was like, in that one, people physically moved around the space to alter their listening experience. Yeah. And in this one, it's going to be just altering the knobs, essentially. Yeah. Right? At the library. To shift how they're mixing the pieces. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. That's so interesting, because that was like the first thing I thought of when I read it. Oh, cool. Yeah. My second question is around the library. This will be like the second thing that you're presenting at the library that I've been to. So I guess my question is around like the library as a space for presenting stuff. And what draws you to it?
It's amazing. I mean, I think it's always like, well, you know, as like a creative person, it's always like finding a platform or finding a space or finding a way to present things. And the library is just like, they just truly want to like create interesting experiences for people. And yeah, I think it's pretty amazing. It's just like the people that are there, and they're I'm not even sure what their mission statement is. I'm sure they have one. Yeah. But it's like just the fact that they're really dedicated to making it a place that is very like means a lot of things for different people.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a place where you can just go and like chill. It's a place where you can go and do work, or like the books are a part of it, but it's also just like they've acknowledged how important it is as a community hub and as a space for different things to happen. And I just think it's, you know, I don't take that for granted at all. Like that's an amazing part of being here in the city. Like being relatively new still, it's like that's something that's like pretty amazing to me that exists.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely allows like to reach a diverse range of people. Yeah. And the library is such like an accessible space, and architecturally too, the Central Library is really gorgeous here.
Yes.
So we're lucky for that. But
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So love and loss in a non-binary world. So this is a very me with my art therapist hat on a little bit, but you can answer however you want or whatever your comfort is. And I guess I just wrote like, how does exploring love and loss through composition help you process these themes emotionally in your life, and is this a conscious process for you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Nailed it.
I did my homework.
Yeah, it's pretty new for me. I think I'm just reflecting recently that like a lot of the stuff that I've done in the past, like I've made a lot of records, I guess, but nothing that's really. This is my first time like writing lyrics for myself to sing. It's my first time I'm going to be the singer unless I fire myself, which is possible.
Sure.
For now, I have the gig.
Yeah.
I'm on thin ice. There's a lot of firsts that go into this, and I'll go along with that is just kind of like exploring some of these more kind of like I guess expressive and it's not like nothing's autobiographical obviously, but it's just like I really is the first time I'm like consciously processing some stuff through like writing. And so I've been writing a lot of poetry recently, and the first thing I kind of sat down to do was like with this project was come up with a general scheme and a general concept and stuff, and then for actually writing stuff I'm like I'm gonna write a whole bunch of poetry, and then song ideas I will like I will take from the poems basically, and so some of them are kind of like fairly representative of the poetry, and others are more like very just like extracted little bits or of information. But
that's cool. So your process was very much started with poetry.
Yeah. And just like the idea of exploring relationships and love, and my kind of main metaphors are like just there's the way that like two rivers can come together, and the way that you mingle with another kind of being in that way, and share a lot of that stuff. And then there's like there's a metaphor of like planets orbiting, where there may just be this pull that feels inevitable sometimes, and orbits aren't always circular, like quite often they're elliptical, so you'll feel this really strong pull, and then you realize that you're like on this part of the orbit or whatever, and it takes a long time to come back, and then the idea, one of the songs that I wrote is called Orbit. It's about just the idea of like two planets coming really close in proximity to each other, and like just the gravitational pull of them kind of like pulling bits off of each other, and like starting to kind of I guess crumble or decompose with that, and how like that sense of closeness can actually make you lose a part of yourself maybe. And then like I guess the other one is like just trees growing, the idea of being grounded in a relationship and like having branches that can intertwine and grow like this, but that you're still rooted, so you can kind of be, and the idea of course you can be entangled with someone else, or you can just grow in a nice parallel way and like have branches that touch and just be in this world and be rooted in the same soil and sharing that same ecosystem. So just like metaphors around that, and playing with those ideas and stuff. So that's where it kind of came
And this is the first time that you're really like intentional about that. That's really neat.
It's a lot of risks, a lot of well, it's music, so no one's gonna get hurt,
but it's like the first time with like poetry and lyrics, like I guess there's a vulnerability to that for sure. Anyway, that's coming up for me. So the reason I made the face when you said something was because my fifth question was how your idea or the metaphors of rivers converging, planets orbiting, and then this image of sculptures in a garden with plants framing, observing, interacting, and threatening to overgrow. What that made me reflect on in my own life is the work I've been doing on in regards to relationships and being like a whole secure being in myself,
mm-hmm.
and coming into relationship with someone else, and how do you do that without ever losing parts of yourself within that. And I feel for me that's kind of where I went immediately in reading your words, because I related to that so much. And just I guess just that constant dancing process of like, how do you maintain that and so I guess it's less of a question but more of a like, I guess my question for you was, have you thought about it like that? In regards to relationships, and the answer I guess we got is yes.
I think it's really common, right? Like I think that's those things, and we're all trying to figure it out, but there is no figuring it out.
It really is like a dance, I think.
And no one like really has any answers to that stuff, I don't think. Apart from what we learn ourselves, it's like we have the answers for ourselves, and like what we've learned. It's like, okay, I know that I need this, or I know that this, but also that can kind of let you down too sometimes, where because you can learn a lesson and then 6 months later you're in a situation where you're like, well, actually I need to throw that entire like book out, and like this is a whole different thing, and then maybe later you realize, no, it was that. It's just there's another version of it. So I mean,
it's like how our needs are constantly shifting or in flux, and then so are people we're in relationship with. I think you're right though, like it's about kind of knowing how we can tell when we're kind of losing ourselves, or you know what I mean? It's like, how can we tell in ourselves when we're getting like off of
what are those signs
for you? It's so relatable and cool. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me 5 questions.
There's one left.
Bonus question?